Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us for this month's Innovations webinar. My name is Fernando and I come with the Region 9 Head Start Association. I'll be your webinar host today, so feel free to contact me via the chat option of Zoom with any logistical questions you may have regarding your audio, video, or any connection issues you can experience within the presentation today. This webinar session will be recorded and made available for on-demand consumption after today. You may find a copy of this recording up on our website at www.region9hsa.org. We encourage your participation today, so feel free to send us your questions via the Q&A option of Zoom or by simply selecting the Raise Your Hand button, which will allow your microphone to be unmuted to speak directly to the entire room. We will allow the last 5 to 10 minutes of the presentation today for questions and discussion. So make sure you hold on to your questions because we'll have a little time at the end to discuss them. And now it is my pleasure to introduce our topic today, Fatherhood Initiative by Marion Hill. And I thank you for tuning in. Go ahead, Marion.
All right, thank you, Fernando. So my name is Marion Hill. I am a program coordinator with the City of Phoenix Birth to 5 program. It's our Head Start program. We have roughly around 3,500 slots in our program, which include Head Start, include our home base, and include our child care partnership on the early Head Start side. So today, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about what's going on in the City of Phoenix and with our program. Wanted to share some ideas, some things that we're doing here in the city that might give you some ideas in terms of addressing fatherhood, the Fatherhood Initiative, and male role models and male involvement. And also really, after this call is over, to really kind of generate some conversation with those of you that are online and for those that are going to hear this on a recording about how we can better serve fathers. So this is really going to be broken out really into about 3 parts. This is really to introduce you to our Man Cave program. And we'll talk a little bit more about what Man Cave is about and what we created here and do in our own Head Start program. So the objectives today really is to really kind of tell you what the research tells us, and I think it's something that we all know with regard to what the research tells us, and so I'll move through that relatively quickly, talk a little bit about the impact of fathers on children's growth and development, because we do spend a lot of time there in our Man Cave program, and then really kind of go over what Man Cave is all about. It's really our innovative father engagement program, and talk a little bit about its impact and how we connect that to school readiness. So let's take a look at what the research tells us. I'm going to hold you for about 45 minutes and then we'll get any questions that you have in. So I'm going to move through this relatively quickly. So with regard to what the research tells us and really what we share with our parents and what we share with staff is that family involvement is really, we know it's a win-win situation for children and schools. And we know that children are more successful in the classroom and the school. They're more ambitious. They're more self-confident with their identity. They're more self-protective, reliant, less likely to drop out of school, less susceptible to peer pressure. All of these things is what research tells us when families work together with children and the schools, we can see a greater success. But the challenges that are related to that is really what makes up the family. So when you talk about parent involvement, it really equals mother's involvement, especially when you're talking about Head Start and you're talking about infant, toddler, birth to 5. Most of the time it comes down to being the mom's responsibility for taking care of that child, the mom's responsibility for getting them enrolled in any programs, whether it be preschool programs, Head Start programs. And we really want to move away from that. We really want fathers to be more involved. So the assumption with parent involvement being mother's involvement is really that the mother's responsible for the child's learning and development, and that really takes away the importance of the father's involvement. So these are the things that we know when fathers are absent and things that we share with our parent about fathers not being in the home. We know the research, the data tells us they're 269% more likely to be arrested for drug dealing, firearm possession, 2 times more likely to drop out of high school, 4 times more likely to live in poverty, could become pregnant as a teen, 7 times more likely for that to happen, suffer with some issues related to obesity, face abuse and neglect And really what we see a lot is really the behavioral issues that take place in the classroom as a result of that. So what do we try to do here really in our program is really this hierarchy of father involvement. We look at this in two ways. One, we look at it for our program. So in our program, as the grantee, we have 9 delegate agencies. We have child care partners. And so we want to make sure that each one of those offices that support the delegate agencies from a social service aspect is father aware, meaning be aware that we have fathers that their kids participate in the program. And we always want to make sure that we put ourselves in a position so that we are inviting and welcoming to fathers. We also want to make sure that we create an atmosphere that is father friendly. You know, we want fathers to come in and we want them to participate in the intake and the eligibility. We want them to participate in our engagement process. We want them to participate and sit down and have conversations with caseworkers. We want to encourage them to meet with teachers and participate in classrooms, participate in the homework that their children come home with. So it's all about being father friendly. We want to welcome them, and then once we welcome them, we want to make sure that we create an atmosphere where they feel like they can thrive. And then we also want to make sure that we're inclusive. So in all of the activities, whether it be something that's going on the social services side, whether it be something that's going on in the classroom, maybe a literacy night, maybe a math night, you know, maybe a play night, we want to make sure that fathers are included in those activities. So we look at it from the social service delivery standpoint, but we also look at it from the standpoint of the family and the conversations that we have with the family around father awareness, father friendliness, father inclusiveness, because this is what we talk to our fathers about. We want to make sure that they themselves are father aware. And when I say father aware, it's that they recognize the value that they bring to that family, the value that they bring to the child. So we want them to be father aware. We want them to make sure that they're in an environment, that their home is father friendly, meaning that they come home and don't just plop down on the couch and click through the TV or read the newspaper or get on the computer. We want to make sure that we create an environment, that we help them to create an environment in their home that's father friendly, where they're doing things with their kids. And then the father inclusiveness really applies to the mom and the dad together, whether they're in the home together or not. We want to make sure that because the mom makes the majority of those decisions for the infant toddler, that she includes the father as part of that decision-making process. And so we go down those two lanes to make sure we involve our staff, to make sure we create that environment, and we go down that lane with the family to make sure that they are creating the same environment in order to be able to involve fathers. All of that really kind of serves the benefit and purpose to make sure that fathers are available to their kids. When they're available and when they are engaged, we know that there's some academic success as well as social and emotional and cognitive well-being for these children. We know that positive father involvement, it's more than just being there, but being a positive role model and positive father involvement decreases problem behavior. And it helps the mental health. It increases the mental health or improves mental health for girls. We know that fathers that are more involved with their children tend to raise children who experience more success in their career. And fathers being involved in their children's lives protects against any risk factors that might harm the children. Father involvement is associated with promoting children's social and their language skills, and involving fathers is related to really lower rates of child problem behaviors, including hyperactivity, reduced teen violence, delinquency, all of these things that we really kind of plant the seed with our fathers, knowing that it will pay dividends in the future as their children go on through kindergarten, elementary, junior high, high school. So the impact of the father, and these are things that we put out in front of our fathers to help them to recognize, look, this is the impact that you're having on your kids. We really try to promote with our fathers their role in nurturance and really what they bring to the table to nurture that child. It's more than just the mom's nurturance, but it's the father's nurturance that's just as important in building the intellectual development, social emotional development, all the way through ethical, moral behavior, through competence, through sharing activities, caregiving, being protective. All of these things we want to know. We want fathers to know that this is what they're bringing to the table and the impact that they're having on their families and on their children. And when we do those kinds of things, all of a sudden we start seeing light bulbs go off in fathers, where fathers once said, I really didn't have the confidence or know what to do. My child is just an infant or a toddler or just going into preschool. And now you're giving me some things that I can do to be more involved and really to establish or enhance the relationship that I have. So we take all of those components, all of that history, all of that data, and we wanted to put a program together that would not just be a fatherhood program, but be something that we could create into a movement. And so I put this innovative programming, and I also put the IM that came out that I'm sure all of you have seen or saw that came out, I think just a couple of weeks ago, with regard to redoubling the efforts of our programs in fatherhood initiative and in male involvement, and reaching out across different programs to enhance the participation of fathers in those programs. So we created Man Cave. Man Cave for us is men all need to be caring, actively engaged, vested, and encouraged. We created this program really to emphasize and promote the value that men have on the growth and development of young children and the impact that they have within the broader community. And it's more for us, it's more than just a program. We trademarked it because it is evolving into a movement. And I think you'll see as I go through really some of these slides, some of the things that we've done with our own program. Now, I won't be able to hit on everything because it has taken us some time. It's taken us 3 years. We're in our third year right now. There has been some trial and error, but there's been a lot of planning, from strategic planning to really being purposeful in how we cross over programs, how we bring individuals in to be involved in the program, and how we really look to partner in the community to provide the best program that we can for our fathers and male role models. So the first thing that we did was we established a Man Cave Advisory Board. That Man Cave Advisory Board basically provides all the oversight and support activities and projects, sponsorships that we need for our annual summit, and I'll talk about that a little bit more, but it also provides support and oversight into what we do on a monthly basis with our fathers and children. The members that we currently have that represent, and this is our effort to really reach out across programs because they all provide some benefit and value to us, and we work with them closely to make sure that we're providing a service that is going to bring benefit and value to fathers, children, and to their families. So the first one is the Arizona Department of Education. We have our First Things First, the Department of Economic Security. We partner with the Vista Corps because we actually have a Vista member that participates as a part of our board, and that helps us to carry out a lot of our activities in the community. MBK, our city manager's office right now, has a unit that is has oversight over My Brother's Keeper and the My Brother's Keeper initiative. And because we're Head Start, we're really the first two pillars of My Brother's Keeper, which is really the early childhood education as well as reading and third grade reading. And we have a huge component in Phoenix, Read On Arizona, that is really about looking at the data and what the data tells us about reading scores in our service area and how we can enhance those scores, working with families, working with schools to be able to enhance those reading scores. So they are a part, My Brother's Keeper is a part of that advisory board. We also are a community action agency. So yes, we're the City of Phoenix Birth to Five program. On a larger scale, we are a part of a community action agency, which is the City of Phoenix Community Action Agency. And inside of that agency is our Human Services department. So we have community services. Community services basically provides everything from rental assistance, utility assistance, case management, to low-income families. There's also a senior services division that has several senior centers that provide services to seniors, and then the education division that comes in, that collapses into that, and that's where Head Start program is. The reason why we make sure that we have our HSD community initiatives that is a part of that is because we also do work with our city manager's office on some other components that really are kind of outside of, I don't want to say outside of Head Start, but it's really growing beyond Head Start. We find that what we're doing, the work we're doing with Man-Cave is moving us into really kind of the elementary, that kind of junior high school and high school element. And so we're doing some work with them as well. Then we have what we call Man-Cave liaisons. So at every delegate agency, we have a Man-Cave liaison. That liaison is a caseworker, and that caseworker facilitates trainings, makes sure that we can account for men that are participating in our trainings, that are participating at parent trainings going on at that delegate agency. So they're really kind of the overseer, the one that keeps sight over each of those delegate agencies, and we meet with them on a regular basis to roll out the curriculum that they're going to be using. So they are the Man-Cave liaisons, and then we have Man-Cave facilitators. Some of those are liaisons, but what I try to do is I try to move towards having more men involved in the program. So right now we have caseworkers and staff that are females. I have no problem with females facilitating these sessions, but one of the things we're hearing from our men in the feedback is, look, if we're going to have a Man-Cave session with men, then we need men facilitating those sessions. And then we have grantee staff. So any individuals that really are interested in being a part of Man-Cave, I only ask for volunteers. We don't push anyone to be a part of Man-Cave because I want to make sure that individuals are just as excited as I am about the services that we are providing. And then we're also a part of the Arizona Fatherhood Collaborative. And the Arizona Fatherhood Collaborative is really a collaborative of organizations that provide services to men really across Arizona. And what we're trying to do is we're really trying to duplicate services that are going on in Phoenix, but we're trying to duplicate those north of Arizona, northern Arizona. We're trying to duplicate those down in Tucson, down in southern Arizona. So we have a series of forums here, the curriculum that we use here, the services that are provided. We're trying to duplicate those efforts. We're also taking a look at the services that are being provided by organizations that provide those services to men to really try to identify any gaps in service. So we survey each one of them. We survey the men that receive those services so that we can identify the gaps and figure out how we can address those gaps. So we want to make sure that we are a well-rounded program providing services, whether they be legal services, whether it be services related to education, to these men. So that's the importance of our Man-Cave Advisory Board. We sat down, this isn't everything related to, but this is really kind of a summary of our vision, mission, and values. We want to make sure that Man-Cave is taking a leadership role and committing to fostering the positive relationships of fathers, male role models with their children. We want to make sure that they are promoting the important roles, that we promote the important roles of both parents in the child's development and recognize that the child's parents are their first and most important learners. And then we want to make sure that we seek to improve the well-being of children by increasing the number of children growing up with caring, actively engaged, vested, and responsible fathers or male role models in their life. So that's just a look into really where we want to go with Man-Cave. So how do we do that? We do that through two separate tracks. The first is what we call our Man-Cave engagement training. This is where we come together on a monthly basis at our host locations, our 9 different host locations, delegate agencies, and we take time to do activities specifically with fathers and their children. So we have this curriculum that's designed to really create this environment for men to participate in activities with their children and to educate them really on components of school readiness. The way that we carry that out is we have monthly topics that are facilitated by our liaisons. So those topics could be reading, those topics could be words, topics could be discovery, and there's something that attaches to each topic. So let me kind of take you inside of one of those sessions. So the first thing we do once we bring them in, of course, we always have something for them to eat and really welcome them into a session. And then one of the greatest things that I like about this is we have each father stand up, whether it be the father or the male role model, introduce their child and introduce themselves, and then tell us why they are proud of their child. If you ever want to see a grown man cry, have him introduce his child and tell you why he is proud of his child. This is the piece that helps us to make the connection and really bring the fathers into what it is that we are trying to do. And then after that, we have some activities, and all of the activities are developmentally appropriate within the Birth to 5. We use adaptations of creative curriculums, Mighty Minutes, and then we have content from All Pro Dad's curriculum. And All Pro Dad's curriculum is really kind of what got our foot in the door, even though we don't hold fast to that curriculum, but that's really kind of what started off and got us to Man Cave. So we make that connection with school readiness goals and our parent, family, and community engagement framework by really looking at a few things. Approaches to learning, making sure that children can demonstrate persistence really throughout the day. Social and emotional development, which is really an important piece for us. Children forming relationships with adults. Language and literacy, which is listening and understanding, being able to respond to increasingly complex language. And then parent, family, and community engagement. We want parents and families observing, guiding, promoting, and participating in the everyday learning of their children. Not only at school, but at home and in their community. This is an important piece for us with regard to really engaging the fathers, because a lot of times we see that, fathers are working and they come home and don't really know how to engage with their children. And so these are some of the things we're teaching them, some things to better be able to engage with their children, better to be able to engage with their families. And so there's work to do inside of each of the monthly sessions as well as outside of those sessions. That's just a picture of one of the engagement sessions that we had going on at one of our delegate agencies. And so it's always good to see men come in and do activities and then be able to share with them and give them something that they can walk away with that's going to enhance the relationship with their child, enhance their ability to build that child's social emotional development, enhance their ability to have stronger relationships in their home. Now, we also make sure that we look at a lot of data. So we want to make sure that the services, the programming, the things that we're doing with our fathers are making a difference. This is a snapshot of our 17-18 report from last year. It really kind of gives an idea. We can go in and look at the number of attendees, the number of agencies that are providing those services. We can break down ratings based on each of the individual areas that we address. For example, words, teachability, reading, play, discovery. We can look at how those participants responded to a particular activity, whether it was a PowerPoint, whether it was the discussion, the videos, the hands-on activity, the other activities. Really looking at the data helps us to drive and determine where we're going to move in the future. So we don't have 18-19 data up yet because we haven't got to the end of that school year, but I can tell you right now, based off of this data and based off of what we're doing in 18-19, we've changed a little bit to fit more with regard to what the dads want. And that really ties into really the social emotional development and the dad's interaction with their children. So that's one track we go down. That one track is the monthly meetings that we have with our fathers and with their kids. The other track that we go down is our Fatherhood Summit. The Fatherhood Summit is really about bringing families in, fathers, male role models. We bring the moms in. We want practitioners. We want teachers. We want anyone that's providing services to fathers to participate in this summit. It's 1.5 days, and we focus pretty much on the current trends, on research, community resources related to fathers and children. Now, we start off with 1.5 days. The goal is to eventually get to 2 full days, but since we just started the summit, it's 1.5 days. The one thing about the summit, it's free. So we have free registration, free meals. We reach out into the community, get sponsorships. So because we're able to generate sponsorships, we're able to provide this type of service for free. We actually go out and we get keynotes. For the last 2 years, we've had Michael Gurian from the Gurian Institute as one of our keynote speakers. And he has made a huge difference in terms of how Man Cave, how we look at the way that boys and girls learn. We are now kind of turning the corner and moving into providing some training for teachers, providing training out in the community about the differences between the way that boys and girls learn and how teachers can respond to those differences, but more importantly, how parents can respond to those differences. We have sponsors everywhere from the Phoenix Suns, the Arizona Diamondbacks, Department of Education, our Black philanthropic programs. We go out into the faith-based community. It seems like everywhere we go and every door we knock on, individuals want to be involved when we talk about engaging fathers, because they know that fathers' participation in their home is so important. And we have an epidemic, what I would call a national epidemic, when you have 24.7 children across this country, 24.7 million children across this country whose biological fathers are not in the home. I mean, this is a situation that needs to be addressed. And so we're doing our little part in our service area to try to address that. This is what it looked like in 2017. So again, we're all about data and having data really kind of guide our program and some of the decisions we make. So you can see when we started off this function, we had 120 attendees. Our goal was 200. We had 120. You can see the percentage that rated it as excellent, the percentage that said that helped them to learn to be a better parent, and how many would recommend. We're able to break down each one of the sessions, look at what evaluations we get, look at what people are saying. We can look at both quantitative as well as qualitative data to help us drive the program for the next year. Notice we had 120 summit attendees when we started off in 2017. 2018, we've jumped up to 306. Again, doing the same thing, breaking down those sessions, looking at our overall summit evaluation. And one of the things that we did differently from one year to the next, so we had a series of what we call Man Talk sessions. And Man Talk sessions, we're really having fathers come up and talk about what it means really to be a father, what it means to have a kid that's involved in the Head Start program, how they're involved in the Head Start program. And it's probably one of the most touching parts of our Man Cave Summit, but it brings men into the program as well as bringing practitioners to really kind of get to work together to really kind of get an idea of some of the issues that fathers are facing and how we can support them. We've dealt with issues related to expulsion. You can go down the list and know that we have an issue with expulsion. Even though Head Start has an expulsion policy where you can't expel a kid, if you look outside of Head Start, 250 kids a day are being expelled from preschool. How does that happen? There are issues related to that are both in the family and in the preschool that we can do a better job at addressing. One of the things we also try to make sure parents understand is, again, the brain development. How the brain develops within a boy, within a girl, and how they're learning is different. And if you can look at some of those things and understand some of those things in terms of the differences between boys and girls, you're better able to, I think, be a parent and be able to understand and address some of those issues. And we put you in a better position as a teacher to be able to understand and address some of those issues. Because sometimes behavioral issues, especially in little boys, they're manifested and they're seen as microaggression, and really it's not. Basically what it is the natural development of the brain and how it manifests itself. And so what can we do to create a better classroom environment? What can we do to create better interaction between teachers, boys and girls? What can we do even before the child hits the classroom to create better interaction and participation for the parents? Because we want parents to be able to understand and nurture the nature of their child so that they can be better advocates for their children in the classroom. And who can be a better advocate outside of that mom than that dad, especially when you talk about little boys and making that connection with little boys. We spend some time talking about empathy nurturance. We spend some time talking about aggression nurturance and the importance of the two. The female brings the empathy nurturance basically to the table. It's the male that brings the male that aggression nurturance to the table, and the two of them come together and make for a well-rounded child. And so when there's one there without the other, sometimes it can manifest itself with behavioral issues. When there's one without the other, sometimes it can manifest itself with learning issues. And when there's one without the other, sometimes it manifests itself in a way that little boys especially get into some trouble, and it's really a part of their natural development. And so we are concerned about this population of boys that seem to be disappearing. When boys are getting the majority of D's and F's, when boys are more likely to be diagnosed with a learning disability, when you've got 80% of the high school dropouts are boys, when you have the majority of individuals in these schools that are on Ritalin and medication for ADD and ADHD, that being boys, we want to make sure that the first place we address that is in the home. And what's most important to us is really the fathers and understanding and them participating in their children's lives. So that's really kind of a little bit about our Man Cave Fatherhood Summit. It's been successful for us. We're actually planning out year 3, which is April 25th and 26th, I believe. And so we'll be putting out some save the dates for that as well. Then one of the other things that we're doing is we really didn't leave the Gurian Institute. Michael Gurian, we've had several conversations with him, and as a result of the Fatherhood Summit, one of our delegate agencies, the Greater Phoenix Urban League, has stepped up and said, hey, look, we want to pilot a program where we create Gurian Institute or Gurian model classrooms. And these are classrooms that basically invest in the science and brain-based research surrounding gender and education, optimizes the information that parents, staff, and students use to understand how boys and girls learn. We want to create an environment that's based on the latest in scientific research regarding brain-gender differences, and we want to provide a competitive edge to those children or those students who might otherwise suffer with academic achievement or behavioral issues. And so it's a pilot program that we are working on with the Greater Phoenix Urban League, and this ties into the National Urban League's initiatives and their strategic planning in addressing early childhood education and community involved in early childhood education. The other thing that we do as a result of All Pro Dads is it's opened the door for us to be involved with professional sports teams. So although we're in Arizona and we have the Arizona Diamondbacks, we're fortunate that we have so many teams that have spring training in Arizona in the Phoenix area. And so the Milwaukee Brewers came knocking on the door, and we sat down with them and said, look, what do you want to do? And they said, we want to put together an event where we can bring children out with their families, and just do something together in the community. And we were like, wow, this is perfect. This is right up our lane. And so Man Cave really came in and sat down with them as well as the Greater Phoenix Urban League and partnered to provide an activity that's going to take place. This one's actually going to take place on the 4th of December. But basically, we're going over and taking over a school. We've got 12 classrooms that are going to be participating, 12 classrooms of 20, both Head Start as well as PDG. And we're bringing in our early Head Start that do socialization at that location. So we're expecting somewhere in the area of about 300 kids plus all of the adults that go along with them. But what we're doing with Man Cave is we're setting up activities, and as they transition through the activity, there's a message in each activity specifically targeted to fathers, specifically targeted to male role models and their involvement with their children. So we're really proud of this and being able to open doors with professional sports teams. Outside of just this one single event, we're also meeting and sharing information related to Man Cave to start doing things in the community where the Brewers are on the west side of Phoenix, where we can start doing things and basically helping male role models and basically specifically helping men. And actually, some of those will actually be outside of Head Start. That's one of the things I like about Man Cave and the program that we've created is this is not just a Head Start thing. So Head Start dads come in, but when they leave, we tell them, invite, if you know other dads, if you got friends, if you got a neighbor, if you think this is information that they need to hear or bringing them into really kind of this atmosphere, bring them. Let them come. So that's what we want to make sure that we're touching and making a difference in the lives of men and their children. All Pro Dads, I mentioned, this is really kind of where we started off with a partnership with All Pro Dads. We actually established a chapter here in the city of Phoenix with All Pro Dads. All Pro Dads curriculum is really specifically driven to kindergarten through 12th grade. One of the things that interested them in sitting down and forming a partnership with us is that we were Head Start and we wanted to take their curriculum and we wanted to fashion it so that it worked for us. And so they were keeping an eye really on what we were doing. And that's exactly what we did. We used their curriculum really the first year, tweaked it a little bit, and then the second year we really kind of jumped off of that because we have staff here that are more than capable of putting together the curriculum that we use. For this that addresses kids, the kids in our program. So All Pro Dads is really kind of that jump off. We're still a chapter of All Pro Dads. We're still an affiliate of All Pro Dads, and we're actually looking forward to having All Pro Dads come back into Phoenix and partner with us to put on a big event. And if that happens, we're looking at, going to Cardinal Stadium or Diamondbacks Field or Chase Field where the Diamondbacks are or going where the Suns are. So really just a big event with All Pro Dads. All Pro Dads only goes to areas where there are professional sports teams because it's professional sports teams that basically started it off. So we have some affiliation with them. And then our other innovative community connections, because we're out in the community consistently with All Pro Dads. One of the things I like about the Greater Phoenix Urban League is they're always looking for innovative ways to be able to tap into and get their dads to participate. So we have this father, it's called the First Friday Father Fun Day. And what that is they basically create this fun day for fathers to come to class, and they can come to their child's class anytime during the day that the class is going on. There's an activity that they can specifically do with their child, and there's a lesson that goes along with that, and then there's messaging related to Man Cave that's a part of that. So that helps us to further touch men, even men that maybe can't participate in some of the events that we have going on in the evening. But this allows them to come in at any time during the day. The only way that is successful is you basically have a director that wants to do some new and innovative things, and you have teachers that are just as concerned and excited about doing things with fathers. We also touch on faith-based men's organizations. We do a lot of stuff in the faith-based area, especially talking about aggression nurturance as well as empathy nurturance. Sit down with men. There are a couple of organizations or a couple of faith-based organizations that have programs related to boys where they bring single boys in, boys from single parent homes. They wrap around them fathers that are really kind of the mentor, the male role models for them. If they need to do homework, they come and do the homework. If they just want to sit and have a conversation, they come and sit and have a conversation. And so it was important for them. They reached out to us around the brain development in terms of helping men to better understand themselves and to better understand the youth to be able to make that connection. So we're doing a lot in the faith-based area. We share this information with our Head Start association, but I'm competitive like that and really want our program to really be kind of cutting edge and ahead of what everyone else is doing. We're also a member of the Arizona Fatherhood Collaborative and an affiliate of the National Fathers and Families Coalition of America. So we're reaching out. We make sure that we want to create a program that reaches out and touches any organization that is providing services to fathers, that is providing services to men. We want to reach out and at least touch them. One, let them know that we're here. Two, find out what services they're providing. Three, how can we make a connection? How can we partner to enhance the services that we provide? But there's places that we want to go in the future. We don't want to just stand still. I believe that our organization has accomplished a lot. This could not have been done without staff that really bought into the vision, that really kind of took the vision and ran with it. It's good to see staff that are just as excited about providing services to men as a management team that really kind of creates a vision with regard to where we want to go with this program. So how do we want to expand our program? What are the future steps that we have? We want to continue to expand host sites into the community, into schools, and the family resource centers. Now, we already have some family resource centers that we're beginning to expand into, and those family resource centers happen to be in housing areas that's supported by our housing, City of Phoenix Housing Department. That gives us a chance to go out and to be able to address not only parents and fathers of children that are in Head Start, but it gives us the opportunity to address parents of kids that are a little bit older. This works for everyone. This works for every dad, no matter whether you have an infant, toddler, no matter whether you have a kid that's in elementary school, junior high school, or high school. It works for all of them. So we want to make sure that we touch them. In schools, we're going into school districts, beginning to have conversations with superintendents about what we can do, about training that we can bring to the program. How can we bring Man Cave into your school district? How can we touch fathers and enhance and bring about services that's going to enhance their relationship in the community and in their home. And then within each one of those districts, we're touching schools. So we're making sure that, again, this is not just a program for us. This is a movement. We expect that our fathers are going to take what they get from us in Head Start. They're going to move it when they go into kindergarten. As a matter of fact, one of the things that we're starting to see now is we're starting to see dads that were participated in our program the first year. The second year, they're coming back and they're wanting to step up and be team captains, meaning they're the ones that want to step up and do training, facilitate trainings. They're the ones that want to step up translation, however they can be involved. And they bring benefit and value to the program in that their second year, they've been through that. And so when those first year dads come through the door, wide-eyed, here's a dad that's already been through it and that welcomes them in and helps them to transition. The other thing we want to make sure that we do is we want to establish all male trainers, because that's the number one comment that we get. If we're going to have a men's program, if you're going to call it Man Cave, if you're going to have facilitators, then move towards making those facilitators men, whether they be enrolled parents, whether they be male community reps, they need to be men. Because we go beyond just the curriculum. We do create an environment for men to share and issues that men might be going through related to just being a man or related to being a father. And so we want to make sure that we create that environment for them to share. The other thing, as the City of Phoenix, we are a governmental entity that poses issues for us. We have a specialist who's not here with me today, but she's actually our community partnership specialist, goes out into the community and helps to seek sponsors to get individuals that want to participate in our program. We've knocked on a lot of doors, and whereas we haven't had anyone turn us down, and I mean Nike, Adidas, again, Suns, Cardinals, we haven't had anyone turn us down. They all want to be on board. What stops them from being on board? You're not a 501c3. You're a governmental entity. So when you don't come with that nonprofit tax ID, boom, all of a sudden that door gets shut to you. So we really want to create a 501c3 organization out of what we're doing in order to be able to enhance those relationships. I've always had the vision of having a Man Cave, what I call a Man Cave unit or a Fatherhood Initiative unit within our Head Start Birth to 5 program. It's envisioned to be not funded only by Head Start, but also other funding sources. Because again, Man Cave is getting pulled into, we started off in Head Start, but we're getting pulled into other areas where these organizations want to sit down with us and say, look, this fatherhood issue, this fatherhood initiative, this isn't an issue just for infant toddlers. This is an issue that cuts across, especially all children where fathers are not there. So how do we get them engaged? And then in collaboration with our Fatherhood Collaborative, we want to make sure that we have a sustainable program that establishes connections to valuable resources, creates training opportunities and education to engage fathers. we want to make sure that we facilitate a series of forums related to father engagement and its role in the social emotional development of the child. So next month, we have father-only sessions. Those father-only sessions are facilitated by men, and it's all about social emotional development. It's all about father-aware. So it's going to be one of those times where we really just kind of come in and really kind of get down into the nitty-gritty of just being men, of being fathers, being dads, being husbands, being brothers. We really want to get down and start addressing some of the things that men just deal with. And then implementing the Nurturing Fathers program, that goes along with the social emotional development. That's a 13-week program. So we certainly want to implement that. We want to expand our summit to really a minimum of 500 participants. And we expect that we're probably going to have 300 to 500 this year. And then we want to do the big thing, which is to host the All Pro Dads event at one of our local stadiums. So that's really it in a nutshell. I hope that what I kind of brought to this table kind of gave you some ideas, some things that you can do. Maybe you want to reach out, you want to have some connection with us. I would love to be able to have a conversation with you about what you're doing, because maybe there's some things that we could certainly glean from you and what you're doing with your Fatherhood Initiative and your program. And maybe there's some things that we can reach out and help you with. I didn't get a chance to go into all of the detail because there's so much when it came to the strategic planning session, when it comes to connections and dealing with community resources. This is really kind of a high level of what we're doing. So the contact information is on the screen for you. I'm Marion Hill. I work very closely with the program support specialist, Patricia Center. So everything I know, she knows, probably, and then some. And then of course, if you need to reach out to the region, Fernando is there. And so Fernando, I just want to thank you for helping me out to get all of this together, to be able to do this. And with that, that innovation and lifting up what works, I'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you, Marion, for the wonderful and useful presentation filled with great information. We truly appreciate you joining us today and share your knowledge with us. At this point, I would like to open up the room for any questions, comments, or any discussions you want to have with Marion. Feel free to use the Q&A option of Zoom. Send us a chat message if you like to do it that way, or simply click the raise your hand button if you have access to a microphone, and I can go ahead and unmute your account so you can speak to Marion directly. I also invite you to go to our Region 9 website. That's where you're going to get a copy of this PowerPoint, and as well as access to the webinar recording later today, if not early tomorrow. And if you have any questions, like Marion said, feel free to reach out. Here at the association, we can redirect any questions, any comments you have for Marion. We're happy to send that over to him and sort of address it properly. So I sent a chat message question. So Marion, Jason is asking, what is the website for the summit?
The website for the summit, we go through, it's the City of Phoenix. So if you go to the cityofphoenix.gov, we'll have a link that's up on that page. If you want to send us your email, we can certainly send you the save the date information and the link. But normally, you just go onto the cityofphoenix.gov, and there'll be a link there for the summit that you can click on to get information.
Great. The Marion's email address is currently. If not, again, if you go to the region9.org website, send us a message and we're happy to connect you with Marion as well. Any other questions? I welcome any questions, comments, anything you want to add before we close out the session. We're happy to address that right now. Okay, so I'm not seeing anything in any of the channels. I want to thank everybody again for joining us for this month's Innovations webinar. I want to thank our facilitator today, Marion Hill. He's been great. Thank you for all the information and your time, certainly today. Again, I would like to remind you that this session will be recorded and will be available on demand for your viewing later today or early tomorrow. Thanks again, everybody. Thank you, Marion, and I hope you all have a great rest of your day and a happy Thanksgiving to everybody. Thank you.
All right, cool. Appreciate it.